Yeah, there we go. So the goal of these is to keep everything within about 30 minutes or so. Everybody has a life on there, and I understand that. And plus, it's attention spans can we only have so much time. But today, what we're going to do is talk about the overview, really, of the VA loan basics, the benefits and the opportunities with the VA loans. And what we have is this is to expand the mindset of the agent who's willing and able to serve those who serve. There are a lot of opportunities out there. Qualifying veteran, there's a number of categories that do qualify. You've got the veterans, active duty, National Guard, reserves, surviving spouses. Each one of those is, except for surviving spouses, based on length of service and character of service on there. So each one will have their own. It can be anywhere from 90 days to 2 years on someone who served active duty. Generally, if it's National Guard or reserves, it's going to be 6 years if they weren't called up on Title 10 or Title 32 orders on there. If they did, then it's 90 days of active duty that they had to serve. And the active duty they'll get a DD 214, but it just gives you an idea of, if you ask everybody, all your potential clients or everybody in your circle on there, or outside your circle, any interaction that you have an opportunity. So are you a veteran, you or your spouse a veteran? That opens up a lot. And I know when I started doing that over 3 years ago, it's amazing how many more veterans I found. I mean, we found a lot more. If they're a veteran, if they meet the minimum length of service and they have the applicable character of service, then they should qualify. We should be able to get the certificate of eligibility. One nice thing about the VA loan, there is no minimum credit score. That is a lender overlay. Some lenders, 640 is the minimum that they want. Some are higher than that, some are lower. In-house we can do 580, but then I have a couple of brokers that can go down to 500. One broker that the score could be 320 or something, and just as long as everything else was good with that, then they could lend on that. Generally below the low 500s, unless it's absolutely a no score on the credit report, then they might not have the next thing of 12 months of on-time payments on there. That is going to be one thing that we look at. So we get a lot of people moving in from this area as well. Income can be from an accepted job offer. They don't even have to be working yet in most cases. Just as long as we can establish that they're going to be getting some guaranteed income, and with a reasonable start date, even after closing, then they're going to be good on there. So these are some things that we take into account, but it provides more flexibility than other loans on there. So generally, no minimum credit score, and just as long as they have the 12 months of on-time payments, we're well on our way. Yes, there has to be other things in mind, but so if they're a veteran, or if they've serving, if they meet everything, that's where we as a lender can talk to the veteran about and see about pulling their certificate of eligibility. That is key. Any lender that does not pull their certificate of eligibility when the application is first made, I would stay away from, because you're going to run into problems if they don't pull it until a week from closing. So there might not be any issues that come up, but then again, if an issue does come up, there's not enough time to resolve it. So the flexibility on this is nice. Another nice thing about a VA loan is the appraisal. If you've been to the class, like you have, you have two opportunities to influence value. One is a tidewater process, and that is if the appraiser sees that their appraised value that they might be coming up with will be lower than the purchase price on there, then they're supposed to initiate tidewater. Um, and that gives the listing agent 48 hours, basically 2 business days, to come up with 3 comps that support the value. So hopefully it does, and then sometimes that helps the appraiser. Sometimes the appraiser goes, oh, these aren't really valid comps on there. One thing about when pulling comps for the appraiser, try to find things that are in the same condition or as close to the same condition. I had one a couple of months ago where the comps that were pulled were of homes that had been upgraded to really nice stuff, but the home being purchased still had the contractor grade stuff in it, and it was kind of a torn up house on there. It was not the best conditions on there. So it was hard to support the value. Another thing is hey, if the appraisal still comes back low on there, then the veteran can request in writing for the VA to do a reconsideration of value. This falls more on the buyer side. The buyer and the veteran and the lender should be working together to be able to submit something to the VA that will help support the value being asked for. Now, if the value on the appraisal report comes in low, then it could be there might be some negotiation between buyer side and listing side, to where it might come down to what the appraised value is, or if there's still a gap, whether there was some negotiation back and forth and some value came off, but there's still extra money that would need to be brought to the table. Well, then that's good. That's a good reason for reconsideration of value, because it helps if the veteran can bring 0 down payment instead of that appraisal gap of that might still be 15,000 or 10,000 or 30,000 on there. So this is a tool that can be used. Any lender on any VA loan should be already preparing on every VA loan, both the listing side and the buyer side, for both of these options on there, just in case. However, how often does the appraisal come in low on there? No more than any other loan. Matter of fact, it comes in at or above value, either the same or a little more than any other loan. The same house should appraise for the same amount, no matter what the loan type is, and if it's the same appraiser. 3 appraisers for the same house could come up, and the same loan could come up with 3 different values. It's an opinion on there, based on their experience and their comps and what they find. So it should still all be fairly similar. So keep that in mind. But these are a couple of great opportunities on this for the VA loan. FHA, USDA, conventional, none of them have where you can challenge the appraisal. Now, has it been done? Yeah, I had one that was done for conventional, and but that was directly to the appraiser from the buyer through me. But she was able to submit things that helped adjust the value. But I wouldn't count on that for anything. So another nice thing is if the appraiser notes any subject to conditions on there, broken windows, large hole in the back deck, really peeling paint, and a number of other things, the veteran can request in writing a waiver of those conditions. Because if we all know that sellers sometimes they've got the mindset that they are not going to do any repairs, none whatsoever. Some, so some have that. Some may not have the money to do it. But if the veteran is okay with going into the house with that condition still not being repaired, then that's a good opportunity for the veteran to request it in writing directly to the VA. It's submitted through the lender on there. And then the VA will make a determination on whether to waive that minimum property requirement request is what that is. So so it will be approved most of the time, at least 75% of the time. From one VA staff appraisal reviewer that I was chatting with one day, he said it would be higher, but he's had a number of realtors that give him a call or send him an email and say, don't approve that waiver request. He didn't tell me whether it was listing side or buyer side who did that. Don't know why, but at least generally, and from my experience, the vast majority of the time it's going to be waived, and there's a format that can be used on that to help give better success rate to it. One thing, the main thing on there is that the veteran needs to make sure that they put in writing that they're not going to hold the VA liable for any damage or liability issues. Termite on all VA loans. A termite inspection is needed in all very heavy and moderate to heavy regions. In the states that I'm licensed in, Tennessee, North Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, Alabama, they all fall into that category. So termite inspection every time on there. However, per a circular that came out last year, to clarify, the veteran can pay for the termite inspection. So, but the veteran, the seller, the realtor, the lender, whoever that wants to can pay for that termite inspection. Generally, it's $50 to $100 on there. It shouldn't be anything that stops the seller from accepting a VA offer because they're not netting as much. Anybody can pay for it. The veteran can pay for it. It doesn't matter what the lender charges as far as their origination fees. One nice thing as well is, hey, the veteran can pay for the remediation of the termites if they wanted to do that. Now, if it doesn't close, then they're in danger of losing that money. So that's something that has to be taken into consideration. Here's a map. What we're looking at is in the medium blue and the heavier blue areas. Those are the main states that need to have a termite inspection. So basically, even all the way up into Illinois and Indiana, all of California, most of Nevada. So all of that needs to be a termite inspection is needed. So what's the benefits of a VA loan? Well, for the borrower, it's zero down payment if they have enough entitlement. They can always, if they don't have enough entitlement, then they can always put down 25% of the difference on there as a down payment and still buy any home that they want. But if they have full entitlement, meaning when I pull the certificate of eligibility, if nothing is on that line showing any usage, current usage on there, they can buy a $5 million home with zero down payment. Really sweet. So, however, if they currently have a home that has a VA loan on it, then the county loan limit will come into play. We as a lender will determine that. It's just something that is a benefit to the veteran, something that they've earned on there. But zero down payment doesn't equal weak buyer. Matter of fact, most veterans have similar or better credit scores than even conventional, and similar, similar assets as conventional as a whole on there. But they've earned the zero down payment. The seller's still going to net the same amount, but there's flexibility that the VA benefit has that other loans don't have. Another thing is hey, there's no monthly mortgage insurance. So they could put zero down, they could put less than 20% down, they could put down whatever they want to. But unlike other loans, unless it's 20% or more on other loans, on conventional, it has to be at least 20% down payment for no mortgage insurance. FHA, USDA, it doesn't matter how much you put down, you're still going to have mortgage insurance. Conventional, less than 20% down, you're going to have mortgage insurance. VA, no mortgage insurance. So there's also, if they have a service-connected disability, there's no funding fee for them. So that's nice. I mean, it's right now for first time usage, it's 2.15%, I believe. Yeah, that sounds right. They just recently lowered it on there. For if they've used it before, then it's a little over 3% for the most part. But if they have a service-connected disability and they're already exempt, then they pay no funding fee whatsoever. Now the funding fee can be rolled into the loan, the closing costs cannot on there. So that's what we want to do, is always ask a veteran too, is if they're entitled to a service-connected disability. Because if they are, then what we can do is get them to do their intent to file before closing. Because once they're closed, and if they're approved after closing, then they get a refund of that amount. I've got one guy right now, he just closed a few weeks ago, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's got tinnitus. He should be able to be approved. He paid about $10,000 in a funding fee because he's used the VA loan before. But when he's approved, he'll get a check back from the VA for that amount that he paid in. So that's pretty sweet on there. Another nice thing is it's a lifetime benefit and can be used multiple times. Some of the older veterans especially think that you can only use it one time, and that's not the case. You can use it multiple. It's a lifetime benefit. You can use it many times, but it can also be used simultaneously. So if you're currently in a home that has a VA loan on it, let's say you want to move to a larger home or downsize or move in states or whatever, if you want to keep that home, you turn it into a rental. Easy enough to do. Well, we would, just as long as they have the remaining entitlement left to be able to put zero down payment, then that could be done. So that's some simple things as far as some benefits. We can dive into a lot of this, a whole lot more. But as far as benefits for realtors, for real estate agents, does not take any longer to close. So if you're representing a seller, and that's one of the concerns, hey, if on most VA loans, those can be closed in 21 days, easy on there. Appraisals, they come in at or above value, no less than other loans. So it's not dependent on, just because it's a VA loan doesn't mean that the value is going to come in low. Generally, they're not. It's going to come in at value or above value, at least the same amount as if it was conventional, FHA, or USDA. Depending on the area, the appraisers will generally have 7 to 10 business days to have the report available once it's assigned to them. So it does depend on the area. Most of Tennessee, for example, it's 7 days. There are certain areas where it might take 10 days. I was noticing, West Virginia takes 12 days is what's allowed, but these are all reasonable times that a loan can get done within 30 days on a VA loan, and not be held up by the appraisal. VA guidelines have more flexibility than other loans. Just as long as we can tell the story, document what's needed, then lenders such as Southwest Funding, we don't really have any overlays except for maybe credit score on there. But even at that, we have an outlet for even no minimum credit score. So we're okay with that. Well, what opportunities are there for you as a real estate agent? Kind of always ask to expand this. For every chance you get, and especially with new clients, are you or your spouse a veteran? Like I mentioned previously, when I started asking that question 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, it was amazing how many more veterans I found on there and how many more VA loans that I was writing. I was just taking a look. My applications this year are year to date are 82% VA loans. 3 years ago, before I really started focusing on this, it was probably less than 20% of the applications were VA loans. So there's a lot of veterans out there in every town and every community. We just have to be aware of that. Tennessee, you're probably looking statewide, a little over 8% of any county will generally be VA. Of course, certain counties will have higher on there. Of course, Fort Campbell or Cumberland County, yeah, definitely more. Chattanooga, definitely more. Another thing is, as well, is you can always, to really look for those opportunities, you could, if you're so inclined, you can look at volunteering or sponsoring veteran-focused organizations, charities, events in your area. You can serve on the board for any of these. Become involved, become engaged, and it's not just giving lip service on there. There is definitely a market for it, definitely a need for it for real estate agents to step up and be engaged with veterans and having a working knowledge of the VA loan and how it can be used, and having strong partnerships with lenders, and just understanding some of what is available to the veterans. So, if you ever have any questions, just reach out to me. This is my information here. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that we can answer? I can always email me.
I think it's just me left.
Well, that's all right. So this is being recorded as well. So what if you ever have any questions, just reach out to me on there. Let's see what we can do to empower yourself and veterans. So thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you.